Well, in retail, Solomon Lew, chairman of Premier with brands like Smiggle, Peter Alexander and Just Jeans, was one of the first to close the doors to protect staff and customers from the virus. But Friday's Premier annual results saw a 29% jump in net profit to $138 million, and that was buoyed by online sales and some JobKeeper support payments. Well, Ticky spoke with Solomon Lew and Premier CEO Mark McInnes after their result.
It's been a very interesting year. Of course, our first half of this last financial year was a record first half across the board. Highest sales, highest profit. And then going into the second half, we had no expectation of COVID-19, but we were prepared as a company to have a very big year. So we were in stock. Our merchants had all their plans set to go. And of course, then we had the pandemic arrive in March. So Mark and the management and the board of Premier made a decision to close prior to any JobKeeper, prior to anyone realising what was coming down the pipe. So we stood everybody down, but as soon as we could, we went back online. And obviously, we had the products that the consumer demanded.
This focus on jobs is the right focus. It's our focus. It's the reason why Sol and the board, Ticky, have chosen to pay our full-time employees and our part-time employees in Victoria their contracted wages, even though we're shut and even though we're not eligible for JobKeeper 2. Because we feel we have a responsibility to keep people in jobs and keep the economy moving. And I believe that the Prime Minister and the Treasurer and the Liberal Government of Australia and the Reserve Bank Governor have exactly the same focus, and we support them completely in making sure that we can get through this period.
Mark, it's really interesting when I look at, if you like, your two category killers, Smiggle and Peter Alexander. Now, they've had two very different stories, and with Smiggle, I guess a while back you started that 4 pathways to growth, but you've had to really rethink that a bit at the moment, haven't you?
Well, I think, if you go back to Sol's point, Ticky, we had a record first half 20 result with Smiggle, with sales to consumers up 14.2%. And we were very, very confident of our growth plans with Smiggle. Obviously, by the definition of a COVID global pandemic, and Smiggle is a global brand, we've been impacted in each of the markets we operate. But Smiggle is a very, very powerful brand, Ticky.
So that you think this is going to bounce back once, say, in the UK, things go better and kids return to school?
We do, Ticky, and that's a very good point you make. Smiggle needs kids at school. That is the foundation of the business. And where that has occurred, the brand is flourishing. Also, our online business is flourishing in Smiggle. So, we are making even more investments in the online channel in the existing markets we operate, but also looking for new markets.
Solomon, your online story, obviously now for the year, sales up 49% and in the second half up 70%. Do you think this is going to continue once the recovery, have we reset the way that we are shopping?
Well, obviously the consumers are happy. The other states are open outside of Victoria, and we're currently seeing some good increases at store level, and obviously on online as well. But, some time ago, probably when Mark joined the company in around 2011, I think our online business was about 1%. And we made an absolute commitment at that point in time to move forward. We built a world-class facility that we own here in Victoria that can handle the volume, and we've got a wonderful distribution. But above all, it's all about the product.
Yep.
I'm in this business for a lot of years, and it's about the product, it's about the quality, it's about the service, it's about the pricing, it's about the stories, it's about the newness, it's
and
about
the brands,
the promotions. Yes, and of course the brands. And the brands are very important, as far as both landlords are concerned, and online is concerned.
Mark, what about the costs through the shutdown? Because, I mean, when you look at your costs, how much of that was impacted by you not paying rent and you receiving JobKeeper?
Yeah, I mean, Ticky, we've gone to great lengths to talk about the devastating impact of the shutdown in our ASX release. And, you know, just to remind you, on March 26, you know, the board, Sol, myself, took the very difficult decision to stand down 9,000 employees for the health and safety of the company. And during the period of 11th of March to the 15th of May, our sales were decimated. We lost $131 million in sales in that period of time, and our retail sales were down 78%. And at that time, there was actually no wage subsidy schemes available to us. And we took those very hard decisions without even knowing those wage subsidy schemes would exist. As those wage subsidy schemes came together, Ticky, it actually all came about keeping people in jobs. And that became the focus of Sol and the board, about making sure that we kept as many people in jobs as possible. And I think the most interesting point about that is that it wasn't really even about the wage subsidies. I mean, the majority of the wage subsidies that we got were actually passed directly through to employees who were not working and were stood down due to COVID-19.
Solomon, where are we now with the Landlords standoff? Because, you know, someone like Peter Allen at Scentre Group, who says he no longer wants to subsidise tenants, he would say he's had to take big write-downs on property. He hasn't had any support from the government. Come on, you've got to start paying fixed-term rents.
Well, we've always had very positive relationships with our landlords. We respect them greatly. On the other hand, we took a very good decision some time ago that we would allow the majority of our tenancies to go into holdover. So that means 70% of all our stores today, by the way, we've written off the majority of the asset in relation to the shop fit. 70% of our stores are in 30-day holdover. So we can give notice and leave any centre, take our 7 brands out, and their 7 top brands, and their 7 brands that are a big draw card, and 7 brands that pay their rent on time. So the fact that there is now a rebalancing with what is transpiring in the online market requires a reduction in rent.
Given the leverage you now have with this greater amount of online dollars coming through, do you think you are going to have to literally close down shops as part of this leverage game? Because that means people lose their jobs, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure, Ticky. And look, it's never been our objective to close stores, by the way, and we've made that consistently all the way through. Landlords have to adjust their rent to this new reality of consumers wanting to shop online, not wanting to shop in store. But, you know, to be very honest with you, Ticky, if we have to close any stores, it's because the landlords are not being realistic about the rent, and it will be their responsibility for the jobs lost, not ours.
Right. Solomon Lew, I can't let you go without asking you about Myer, a $172 million loss the other day. And it's the first time, I think, in your comments you've actually pulled in the CEO, John King, who you appear to have lost patience with as well.
Well, Ticky, my position hasn't changed. The entire Myer board and the Chief Executive Officer should really leave the business quickly. Otherwise, there'll be very little left.
What can they do? What should they do?
Well, the problem is that these people are not experienced. You've got a management there that has no experience in Australia. Yeah. And when the ship is sinking, what does it matter if you pay the captain a bit less on the way to the bottom? Makes no difference. And so, you know, I just hope that my friend Jeff Wilson understands what's going on there. He's a very smart and popular fund manager, but he's not a retailer and he doesn't have our track record. So not in retail anyhow.
Mark McInnes and Chairman Solomon Lew, I thank you both very much for speaking with me on Results Day.
Thank you, Ticky.
Thank you, Ticky.